If your brother's not invited, then we're not coming either. That's what my parents told my sister about her wedding after 20 years of making excuses for him while he bullied all of us. And now, they've lost every kid they ignored for his sake. What's up, Reddit? I was the family punching bag while my brother got treated like royalty for doing absolutely nothing. I finally broke free, built my own life, and thought all that drama was behind me. But as it turns out, my family had other plans. Let me take you back to where it all began. I'm Travis, and I grew up in a small Indiana town with my older brother Matt, my younger sister Natalia, and our parents. Matt was 2 years older than me. And right from the beginning, it was pretty clear he was the favorite. It all started because he was good at football. And not just school team good, people around town actually thought he might get a college scholarship. Coaches praised him, neighbors talked about him, and my parents ate it all up. Every time he scored a touchdown, my mom acted like she was the one out there running the plays. My dad called him our ticket to the big time. Meanwhile, I was just there. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't some loner. I had friends, did okay in school, played video games, normal kid stuff. But next to Matt, it was like I was invisible. He was loud, confident, the center of attention. I was quieter, more into drawing and music, not really into sports. And that alone was enough for Matt to start picking on me early. He'd take my stuff without asking, tell me I was too soft, make fun of my clothes or my hair right in front of his friends. If I got mad, he'd laugh like I was the crazy one. My parents always had the same reaction, boys will be boys. One of my earliest memories of Matt being a jerk was at my 10th birthday party. I had a few friends over. We were in the backyard eating cake when Matt dumped a whole bucket of cold water on me in front of everyone. Ruined my cake. Soaked my gifts. All the kids laughed awkwardly. And Matt just stood there grinning like he'd won the Super Bowl. I ran inside crying. My mom said I was overreacting. My dad told me to lighten up. Matt didn't even get in trouble. That was the pattern for pretty much my entire childhood. Matt could do whatever he wanted. If he broke something, it was an accident. If he insulted me, it was just a joke. If I ever snapped back, I was the problem. By the time I got to middle school, I started noticing other people saw it too. Teachers would ask why Matt was so mean to me sometimes. One neighbor told my mom that Matt shouldn't pick on me so much. She just laughed it off like it was nothing. And Matt got worse as he got older. It wasn't just teasing anymore. One time he told my crush I still slept with a nightlight, not true, by the way, and she didn't talk to me for weeks. Natalia was little back then, so she didn't get involved much. She was 4 years younger than me, and Matt mostly ignored her. Sometimes she'd tell him to leave me alone, but she didn't have any power in the house either. The golden boy treatment hit its peak when Matt started playing high school football. All of a sudden, everything in our lives revolved around his games. Vacations got cancelled because of tournaments. My parents wore his jersey to the grocery store like he was already in the NFL. Meanwhile, I was the kid getting rides to art class from my friends' parents because mom and dad were too busy with Matt's schedule. Thing is, Matt wasn't even some perfect son outside of football. He barely passed his classes, talked back to teachers, partied with his friends, and still got treated like he walked on water. And me? I kept my head down, got good grades, never got in trouble. Didn't matter. By the time I was 14, I stopped bothering to tell my parents when Matt did something to me. Like the time he accidentally broke my guitar because he was messing around with it. I realized nothing was ever going to change. One night at dinner, Matt joked that I was going to end up living in mom and dad's basement forever. Everyone laughed except me. Funny thing is, years later, that line would come back to bite him way harder than anyone expected. But back then, I just sat there eating my food, counting down the years until I could leave. By the time I got to high school, I'd already learned the rules. Matt did whatever he wanted. Mom and dad defended him. And I stayed in the background. But high school made it worse because now Matt had a car, a bigger friend group, and more ways to make my life miserable. One of the first things he did freshman year was take my bike. He said he needed it because his car wasn't starting, which was a lie. He rode it to a friend's house, left it outside overnight, and it got stolen. When I told Mom and Dad, they said, "Well, you should have locked it up better." Like I was the one who left it there. I had saved all summer mowing lawns to buy that bike. Then there was my first date. I was 16. This girl named Kayla from my math class. We went to the movies. Everything was fine until Matt showed up with his friends. Halfway through, he spotted us in the lobby and started yelling, "Hey Travis, don't get nervous now, man. Don't cry if she holds your hand." Everyone laughed. Kayla was so embarrassed she barely talked to me the rest of the night. When I told Mom about it later, she said, "He's just teasing. He doesn't mean anything by it." I started realizing Matt could burn the house down and they'd probably blame the wind. The big turning point came Matt's junior year of high school. He was 17, I was 15. Up until then, football had been the entire center of gravity in our house. Matt was the star, the future college athlete, the one everyone thought was going to make it big. Then one fall afternoon, after some fight with his coach about playing time, Matt thought he deserved to be starting quarterback even though the other guy was better. He quit the team mid-season. Just walked out. Told everyone he was focusing on his future. What future? He spent the rest of junior year and all of senior year basically living in the basement, sleeping till noon, staying up all night playing Fortnite, hanging out with his friends. My parents kept telling people he was taking a break before college scouts came calling. Nobody called. Meanwhile, I was actually doing fine in school. Sophomore year, I joined the music club, got a part-time job at a pizza place, tried to stay out of trouble while Matt drifted around acting like the world owed him something. But Matt wouldn't leave me alone. He started messing with my stuff on purpose. He'd go into my room when I wasn't home. Take things, hide them, sometimes break them. The worst was the guitar. I'd saved up for a year to buy it. Came home one day, found it in 2 pieces. Matt said he bumped it off the stand. Mom told me I should have put it somewhere safer. I lost it that time. First and only time I actually shoved him. He shoved me back. We started yelling. Things got heated. Dad came in, broke it up, and guess who got grounded? Me. Because Matt told them I started it. He even threw in some fake tears, saying I was always mad at him for no reason. I remember standing there thinking he could literally rob a bank and they'd blame me for not stopping him. I started working more hours at the pizza place. Partly because I wanted money, partly because it gave me an excuse not to be home. My boss was this guy named Joe, ex-military. He liked me because I worked hard. Sometimes I'd stay late just to avoid dinner with my family. At home, everything still revolved around Matt, even though he wasn't doing anything. My parents still acted like any day now, colleges would line up to recruit him. Reality was, he barely graduated. His GPA was trash. No sports teams wanted him, and he had no plan. The night of his graduation party was when things really exploded. Mom and Dad threw this huge backyard party, invited half the neighborhood. Matt was strutting around like he was king of the world. Someone asked him about college and he said he was keeping his options open like he was in high demand or something. Later that night, I heard him telling people I was probably going to be stuck living at home forever. That was rich coming from the guy who had no job, no college plans, and no clue what he was doing. I didn't say anything then, but I remember thinking, one day this whole golden boy thing is going to blow up in their faces. And it did. I moved out the same week I graduated high school, packed up my stuff, drove 3 hours to Purdue for college, and didn't look back. Mom cried like I was abandoning the family. Dad said, "Don't forget where you came from." Which was funny coming from the guy who couldn't name a single one of my classes because he was too busy keeping up with Matt's football stats. Matt didn't even show up to see me off. He was still asleep when I left. College felt like freedom. Nobody yelling at me, nobody breaking my stuff, no parents acting like I didn't exist. I got a work-study job at the library, joined the music club, made a few friends. For the first time in my life, I wasn't walking around waiting for someone to screw with me just because they could. Meanwhile, back home, Matt's life started crumbling. Remember how he was supposed to be the big football star? Yeah, that dream died fast. He signed up for community college classes but barely showed up. Quit after one semester, told everyone school wasn't for him and that he was figuring things out. What he was really doing was sleeping till noon, playing Xbox all night, and mooching off mom and dad. They still acted like he was special. He just needs time, mom would say whenever relatives asked what he was doing now. He's keeping his options open, dad told people, like Matt was some free agent athlete instead of an unemployed 20-year-old living rent-free. I stayed out of it. I had my own life finally, and I wasn't wasting time arguing with them about Matt. But every time I came home for holidays, he found a way to start something. The worst was Christmas my sophomore year. I brought my girlfriend at the time, Rachel, to meet my family. I warned her ahead of time about Matt, but she didn't get it until she saw him in action. We were sitting in the living room just talking with relatives, and out of nowhere, Matt says, "Hey Rachel, did Travis tell you he used to cry every time he lost at Mario Kart?" Everyone laughed. Then he goes, "Don't get him too excited tonight. He might cry again." Rachel looked uncomfortable. I was furious. And mom told me to stop being so sensitive when I told Matt to knock it off. That was the last time Rachel came home with me. Natalia wasn't home much either. A few years later, when she was 18, Natalia started college in New York. I think she saw how things were and decided distance was the best option. She didn't come home for fall break, skipped a few holidays, and when mom complained, Natalia just said she was busy. Matt acted like she betrayed the family. He told people she thought she was too good for them now. Funny thing was, Natalia actually kept in touch with me way more than with our parents. She'd call me about classes, her boyfriend Daniel, life in New York. She rarely mentioned Matt unless it was to say she was glad she didn't have to deal with him anymore. By the time I was a junior, Matt was 22 and still living at home. No job, no school, no plan. He worked at a car wash for 2 months. Quit because the boss was a jerk. Tried landscaping for a summer. Quit because it was too hot. Every time he quit something, mom said he just hadn't found the right fit yet. Meanwhile, dad started pressuring me about visiting more often. He said the family was drifting apart because Natalia and I didn't come home enough. I told him maybe if things at home weren't always about Matt, people would actually want to be there. He didn't like that answer. Things finally blew up the summer before my senior year. I was home for a few weeks working a temp job to save some money. One night at dinner, Matt started making comments about how I thought I was better than everyone just because I was in college. I ignored him at first, but he kept going. Said my degree was useless, that I'd end up working at a gas station like half the people with degrees. I finally snapped and said, at least I wouldn't be living in mom and dad's basement at 22 with no job and no clue what I'm doing. Silence. Dad told me to apologize. I laughed and said no, because I wasn't wrong. Matt got mad, threw a roll at me across the table like we were 5 years old. I walked out, drove back to campus the next day, even though summer classes hadn't started yet. That was the last time I stayed longer than a weekend at my parents' house. After that, holidays were hit or miss. Sometimes I showed up, sometimes I didn't. Natalia was even worse about visiting than me. Mom said the family was falling apart. I thought maybe it was just finally falling into place. Natalia met Daniel during her junior year in New York. By then, Matt was 27. I was 25. And the gap between us felt bigger than ever. She called me about a month after they started dating. Said he was smart, funny, had a good job lined up after college, and actually listened when she talked. She sounded happier than I'd ever heard her. I met him the next summer when they came through Indiana on a road trip. Daniel was one of those guys who didn't need to say much to get people to like him. Confident, but not cocky. Shook my hand, asked about my classes, even brought my parents some fancy coffee from New York as a gift. Mom loved him immediately. Dad, too. Matt didn't. First time they met, Daniel asked him what he was doing for work. Matt muttered something about taking some time to figure things out. Daniel just nodded and changed the subject. I could tell Matt hated that he wasn't the most impressive guy in the room for once. A few months later, Christmas rolled around. First time the whole family was together in over a year. Me, Natalia, Daniel, Mom, Dad, and of course, Matt. By then, Matt was 27, I was 25, and Natalia was a college junior. We finally ended up under the same roof for Christmas. From the start, Matt was trying to act like the big man, bragging about his old football days, talking over people, cracking dumb jokes. Nobody was really paying him much attention. Most of the conversation was between Natalia, Daniel, and me, catching up on school and work. You could see Matt getting irritated. He hated not being the center of attention. That's when he pulled his usual stunt. We were in the living room after dinner, everyone sitting around. Natalia got up to grab dessert from the kitchen. Matt followed her in, and a minute later, he came out holding this big bowl of water, grinning like he was about to dump it on her as she came back through the door. Before he could move, Daniel stepped right in front of him. Calm voice, steady look. Put it back, he said. Matt laughed like it was a joke. It's just for fun. Daniel didn't move. Put it back, he repeated. Matt froze for a second, probably realizing Daniel wasn't like me or Natalia. He wasn't going to shrug it off. He wasn't scared of him either. Daniel leaned a little closer. You throw that and you and I are going to have a problem. Matt stared at him, then slowly set the bowl on the counter and walked off like nothing happened. Natalia came back in, saw the bowl sitting there, looked at me. I just shook my head. Mom, of course, tried to smooth it over. Matt was only joking, she said. Daniel didn't even look at her. Doesn't seem funny to me. After that, the mood shifted. Matt stayed quiet the rest of the night. Natalia and Daniel left early. Said they were tired. The next day, Mom called me, said Daniel overreacted, and Matt was just being playful. I told her maybe if she'd ever told Matt to knock it off when we were kids, he wouldn't still be acting like a 12-year-old at 27. She didn't like that. Over the next year, Natalia visited home less and less. Sometimes she skipped holidays completely. Mom complained non-stop, said she was too busy with her new boyfriend to care about family. Truth was, she just didn't want to deal with Matt or the drama anymore. When Natalia called me, she didn't hide it. I can't stand being around them, she said once. It's like everything has to revolve around Matt. Always has, always will. I told her I understood. I was only going back for short visits myself by then. A year later, Natalia called and said Daniel proposed. She sounded excited but nervous. What's wrong? I asked. She hesitated. I don't want Matt at the wedding. I wasn't surprised. After Christmas, after years of him being the way he was, it made sense. What about Mom and Dad? I asked. I'll invite them, she said. But if they make it about Matt, they can stay home, too. When she told them the plan, it went exactly how we expected. Mom said she was being unfair. Dad said it was a family event and Matt should be there. Natalia told them straight, he's not invited. End of story. They argued for weeks, called her selfish, said she was trying to split the family. Natalia didn't budge. Then rumors started that Matt might show up anyway. One of his friends told someone at the gym that Matt was going to crash the wedding because nobody tells him where he can't go. Natalia wasn't scared, but she wasn't taking chances either. Daniel had 2 college buddies who were cops. They offered to keep an eye on things. That's when I decided to visit Mom and Dad before the wedding. I was done staying quiet. Years of favoritism, excuses, and defending Matt had built up, and this time they weren't going to talk their way out of it. I drove back home 2 weeks before the wedding because I knew things were getting out of control. Mom had been blowing up my phone about how Natalia was tearing the family apart. Dad left me a voicemail saying the wedding was a disgrace without Matt there. When I walked into the house, Mom started right in. "She can't seriously expect us to come if Matt's not invited," she said. I told her that was exactly what Natalia expected. "She's your sister," Mom said. "You should be talking some sense into her." "No," I said. "She doesn't want him there and she has every right after everything he's done." Mom frowned like I just spoke in another language. That night at dinner, Dad joined in. "Your mother's upset. Natalia should reconsider." I set my fork down. "Why?" "So Matt can ruin her wedding like he ruins every holiday." Dad leaned back. "He's her brother." "Yeah," I said. "And he spent 23 years treating her and me like garbage while you two looked the other way." Mom told me to watch my tone. I told them they should have watched Matt's behavior 10 years ago. Then I asked them something that shut the whole table up. "What exactly has Matt done with his life?" I said. "He's 23, no job, no school, lives here rent-free, and you still treat him like he's the second coming." Dad said Matt just needs time. "He's had time," I said. "All of it handed to him while you blamed everyone else for his screw-ups. And now you expect Natalia to risk her wedding day turning into another one of his disasters? Not happening." Mom's face went red. "Dad told me I was being disrespectful." "No," I said. "What's disrespectful is you acting like he deserves everything and she owes him a place at her wedding after the way he's treated her." Nobody spoke for a minute after that. The next day, Mom called Natalia, trying one last time to change her mind. Natalia didn't budge. "If you bring him," she said, "don't come at all." That set Mom off. She accused Natalia of humiliating the family. Natalia told her she was done arguing and hung up. Meanwhile, Matt was telling anyone who would listen that he was going to show up anyway. Natalia heard from one of his friends that he planned to bring a couple guys with him. Said he wasn't going to let his own sister ban him like some stranger. When I told Natalia, she didn't even sound surprised. "Daniel's friends will handle it," she said. "I'm not letting him ruin this." 2 days later, I was at Mom and Dad's again. This time, just to be clear about where I stood. "You know, if he crashes it, they're calling the cops, right?" I said. Mom glared at me. "He wouldn't do that." "He would," I said, "because you've let him think he can do whatever he wants his whole life." Dad crossed his arms. "You think you're better than him because you went to college?" "No," I said. "I think I'm better than him because I don't make other people's lives miserable for fun." That's when Dad said something I'll never forget. "If your sister keeps this up, we might not go either." I laughed. "Then don't." Mom's mouth dropped open. "Go ahead," I said. "Stay home. Watch Matt sit in this house for the next 30 years while you keep pretending he's your little star. Nobody's going to miss you at the wedding if you can't respect Natalia's decision." Dad told me to leave. I said fine, but before I walked out, I turned back. "You know what the saddest part is?" I said. "Natalia's marrying a guy who treats her better than her own family ever has." Neither of them said a word. On the way out, I saw Matt in the driveway leaning against his car. He smirked at me. "Big wedding coming up," he said. "Maybe I'll make a speech." I stopped. "You show up and you'll be leaving with a police escort. Try it if you want." His smile faded just a little. The day before the wedding, Mom texted me saying they still hadn't decided if they were coming. I told her to let me know so I could warn Natalia either way. She didn't respond. That night, Natalia called me. "If they show up with him, they're out." Daniel already told the venue staff. You think they will? I asked. She paused. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past them. The wedding was on a Saturday afternoon at this outdoor venue about an hour from our hometown. Natalia and Daniel had kept everything small on purpose. Close friends, a few relatives, no drama if they could help it. But after the past month, nobody was sure how the day was going to go. I got there early because Natalia wanted me to keep her updated if anything happened with Mom, Dad, or Matt. Daniel's 2 college buddies, both cops, were there, too, dressed like regular guests, but keeping an eye on the entrance. By noon, guests were starting to arrive. No sign of my parents or Matt. At 1 o'clock, Natalia came out from the bridal suite looking stressed. Mom texted me, she said. She's saying they might be running late. Just her and Dad? I asked. She shook her head. She didn't say. Daniel walked over, calm as always. We've got people at the entrance. If he shows up, they won't even get past the parking lot. Natalia nodded but didn't look convinced. Half an hour before the ceremony, Mom finally texted me. We're not coming. Not without your brother. I showed Natalia. She didn't even blink. Okay, she said. Then Grandpa's walking me down the aisle instead. And that was it. No tears, no second guessing. She was done with them. The ceremony started right on time. Grandpa walked Natalia down the aisle while Mom and Dad were probably sitting at home with Matt, pretending they were the victims. The whole thing was perfect. Natalia looked happy. Daniel couldn't stop smiling, and everyone there was actually celebrating instead of dealing with constant drama for once. But it didn't stay quiet for long. Right after the ceremony ended, while people were heading toward the reception tent, one of Daniel's friends came over. Heads up, he said. Matt's car just pulled in. Natalia heard him. You've got to be kidding me, she said. Daniel put his arm around her. Go enjoy your reception. We'll handle it. I followed the cop over to the parking lot. Matt was climbing out of his car with 2 of his buddies. None of them were dressed for a wedding. Matt was in jeans and a t-shirt like he was showing up to a backyard barbecue. Turn around, the cop said before Matt even shut his door. Matt smirked. I'm here for my sister's wedding. Not invited, the cop said. Matt looked at me. You going to let them do this? You've had months to get invited, I said. Take the hint. One of his buddies muttered something about family's family. The cop held up a hand. You step 1 foot past this lot, you're trespassing. Your call. Matt glared at me. This is because of you. You turned her against us. I laughed. She's been done with you for years. You just never noticed. For a second, I thought he was going to try something. But then Daniel walked up. He wasn't yelling. Didn't have to. You need to leave, he said, voice calm but firm. If you step past this lot, you're trespassing and security will make sure you're escorted out. Matt's smirk slipped a little. He looked at his buddies, probably realizing neither of them wanted to spend the night in jail over his tantrum. This isn't over, he muttered, getting back in his car. Yeah, I said. It is. They drove off. Back at the reception, nobody even mentioned it to Natalia. She danced, laughed, took pictures, acted like nothing had happened. Daniel kept an eye on things, but Matt didn't come back. Later that night, when things were winding down, Mom finally texted Natalia again. We can't believe you embarrassed the family like this. Natalia didn't even reply. She handed me the phone and said, you deal with them. I texted back, she didn't embarrass anyone. You did by siding with Matt over her for 20 years. Don't contact her again tonight. Mom didn't respond. After the wedding ended, a few of us stayed behind to help clean up. Natalia hugged me before leaving. Thanks for having my back, she said. Always, I told her. On the drive home, I kept waiting for my phone to blow up with calls from Mom or Dad. Nothing came through until the next morning. Dad's voicemail was furious. Said I'd turned my sister against the family and disrespected him and Mom. I deleted it without calling back. Because here's the thing. They made their choice a long time ago. They chose Matt. Every time they defended him, every time they ignored what he did to us, every time they acted like the rest of us didn't matter, they chose him. And now they got what they built. After the wedding, Natalia and Daniel went on their honeymoon. And for the first time in years, there was no family drama ruining everything. No awkward phone calls, no last-minute fights, no Matt making himself the center of attention. It didn't take long for the fallout to hit. 2 days after the wedding, Mom sent me a long text about how I disrespected them by siding with Natalia. She said we owed them an apology for excluding family. I didn't reply. Natalia didn't either. A week later, Dad left another angry voicemail saying we were tearing the family apart. Same speech he's been giving since I left for college. I deleted it. Natalia told me she blocked them after that. I don't need the stress, she said. They made their choice. Now they can live with it. Matt tried calling me too once. Left a message saying I turned everyone against him and that I was jealous of him. Jealous of what? He didn't say, probably because there was nothing to list. By fall, I heard from a cousin that Matt was still living at home, still jobless, still blaming everyone but himself. He'd started some pyramid scheme thing, selling overpriced energy drinks, telling people he was going to be rich in 6 months. That lasted 3 weeks. These days, he just sits in the basement gaming all night like a full-time Discord mod, except without the mod part or the job part. Mom and Dad kept bailing him out. He ran up their credit cards, borrowed money he never paid back, and they just kept handing it over. Meanwhile, Natalia and Daniel bought a house in upstate New York. She got a promotion at work. They sent me pictures of the housewarming party. Smiling friends, cozy living room, brand new start. I started visiting them more than I visited my parents. When Christmas came around that year, Natalia invited me and my girlfriend, a few cousins, Daniel's parents, even Grandpa. She didn't invite Mom, Dad, or Matt. It was the best holiday I'd had in years. No tension, no fights, no waiting for someone to ruin the mood. Just food, gifts, and people actually happy to be together. Back home, Mom sent a group text Christmas morning saying the family used to be close before certain people got involved. Nobody answered. By the next summer, things at my parents' house started falling apart for real. Matt was 24, still unemployed, still living in his old bedroom. A cousin told me he wrecked Dad's truck after borrowing it without permission. Insurance didn't cover everything, so Dad had to pay out of pocket. Mom complained to relatives about how hard things were, but somehow never connected the dots that Matt was the problem. Then Dad got sick. Nothing life-threatening, but bad enough he couldn't work for a few months. Suddenly, they realized neither of their other kids was rushing over to help. Mom called me one night saying they needed family to pull together. I asked if Matt had gotten a job yet. She said no, but he's trying. Same line I'd been hearing for years. I told her I hoped Dad got better soon, but that I wasn't moving back, wasn't paying their bills, and wasn't babysitting Matt when they couldn't anymore. She didn't like that answer. By the time Natalia had her first baby, Mom and Dad still hadn't met him. She said they could visit if they apologized for the wedding and admitted they were wrong about Matt. They refused, said they wouldn't be blackmailed, so they stayed home while Daniel's parents got to be the only grandparents around. Matt, last I heard, he was working part-time at a tire shop, still living at home, still blaming everyone else for his problems. He posted on Facebook once about fake family turning their backs on him. Got 3 likes. A few months ago, Mom called saying they were rewriting their will. She hinted they still plan to leave everything to Matt because he needs it the most. I told her that was fine. She sounded surprised. You don't care? No, I said, because he'll burn through it in a year and then he'll have nothing, just like always. She didn't have a response to that. These days I see Natalia, Daniel, and the baby whenever I can. We spend holidays together, birthdays, too. My girlfriend loves them. Daniel's family treats us like we've always been part of theirs. Mom and Dad still send the occasional text about missing the old days. I don't reply much. There's nothing to say. They spent decades choosing Matt over everyone else. Now they can live with what they built. A grown man who can't take care of himself and 2 kids who finally stopped waiting for them to change. For the first time in my life, it's quiet. And I'm keeping it that way. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button.